is Mangrovejane, and today I'm going to show you some things you can do to your Second Life land to increase its virtual size and value for you. By now, if you have been following me for a while, you will know I have a small-ish parcel on the mainland. It was the second mainland parcel I bought, and I've had it since 2017. My original parcel is actually just down the road, and funny story, I sold it when I bought this parcel, only to later buy back half of it at a much higher price than I sold it for. I have a small set on it that I sometimes record on, but I digress again. My mainland parcel is situated in Egan in the heart of the Snowlands. It is a 5,295 square metre parcel in a lovely spot right on the river and across the road from the ONSR railway and the road network that runs through parts of the mainland. There are lots of reasons why I bought this bit of land, and I have a video explaining how you can buy your own bit of mainland that I will leave a link to down below. But the big question of this video is what to do with your bit of mainland once you bought it. Recently, I've seen a few articles come through New World Notes about optimising your Second Life performance by the always informative Penny Patton. For those of you who don't know, Penny Patton has this incredible blog I've been following for a couple of years now that talks a lot about optimising your Second Life experience. I'll be going through a couple of the space optimizing techniques she uses in this video and showing you how I've been making them work for me. So the theory is this: regardless of the size of your parcel, you have unlimited space. It all just depends on how you use it. Now, you need to be aware that the way I use this system is not really going to work for you if you have a Linden home in Bellissaria or one of the other Linden areas, as you will not be able to res a skybox. That's just the rules. However, as Anara Pay pointed out in this great article, you can use multi-scene reses or res systems in your Linden homes to switch out your rooms and furniture layouts. So theoretically, you could have one room function as a bedroom, office, family area, games room, and sex dungeon if you wanted to, simply by hitting the right button on the scene reser or res system you are using. This is a fantastic idea as it allows your space to be virtually unlimited in a visually limited space. You can have a multi-room mansion at the simple push of a virtual button. So now we have gone over that, please go check out Anara's article if you're looking for help on how to set that all up, as her article has step-by-step instructions on how to do exactly that. I will of course leave links to the article down below and in my blog. Now, for my own land, I am using a couple of products. This is not at all sponsored. These products are just my own personal preference. You may find different ones on the marketplace or in World, and that is great. Perhaps you could leave a comment down below letting us all know what you use and why and how you use them. I'm always up for checking out new ideas and gadgets and seeing how other people have built things. The products I've tried out on my own land are the Optimise Multi-Reser by Low Industries, Restrained Freedom's Scene Reser, and Curio Obscura's Teleport Doors. Now, let's start with the teleport doors. I use these to teleport into the scenes that I have. I've positioned the scene so the places the doors are on the inside of the scene kind of makes sense. I didn't want a doorway right out in the middle of the room, but if you don't mind that look, hey, you do you. You put them wherever you want. Put them on a ceiling, underground, in the sky, wherever. I'm not judging. These doors from Curio Obscura were really easy to use, and I also love the Curio Obscura main store. It's worth a visit to the main store just for the fun of checking the place out and admiring the work that has gone into it. You can also buy these from the marketplace store, of course. Now, these doors weren't cheap. They cost 500 linden, they have a land impact of 3, and they look a little old school. The door is simply a texture, not a meshed out door. That being said, I still really like this product. They are really easy to use and worked perfectly every time. You can probably buy a cheaper product, or maybe even just buy the scripts for cheaper, but I didn't try that. I just went with the doors. These doors come in a few different sizes, from normal to tiny. They have animations in them, so when you walk through them, you walk or crouch depending on your size, and you can also easily change the textures on both the outside and the inside of the doors. I love the vortex texture, but that is just my personal preference. You can also customize the texture yourself using the template provided to you in your pack. Basically, what you do with the doors is you set up a pair, change the description to match. So in my case, I changed the description to workplaces or play places, and bam, teleport doors. It's seriously that easy. So now moving on to using a multi-scene Reza. Okay, I tried two different systems here. I've used the Optimise multi-scene Reza before to switch out rooms when I had a 1,024 square metre parcel of land. I found it really useful then, as I made the top floor of the house with multiple rooms, and I would just press a button to res the room I wanted at the time. And this is the kind of thing you will want to do if you have a Linden home. After reading Anara's article, I also gave the Restrained Freedom Scene Reza a go. Before you even start setting up a scene, you have to keep this golden rule in mind. Make sure all the objects you want to use are copyable and modifiable. Let me just repeat that because it is super important. Make sure all the objects you want to use are copyable and modifiable. If your objects are not, you are going to find that you lose them into the great void and you won't get them back. So no gacha in these scenes, otherwise you won't get them back. The Optimus Multi-Reza by Low Industries costs 150 Linden from the marketplace. It can save up to 6 scenes per Reza and can be set to clean the scene automatically if another scene is rezzed, or clean automatically when there is no one in range. It can also be set to static scene, where the scene is rezzed regardless of whether the res box is placed or moved in the world. Or it can be set to a dynamic scene, where the scene is rezzed relative to the box. So if you move the box itself, the scene moves with the box. There are also plugins you can buy for this system, like a payable teleporter door for people who are renting out skyboxes and such, but I haven't used any of the plugins. The Restrained Freedom multi-scene Reza costs 250 Linden from the marketplace. This Reza is a non-dynamic Reza. It doesn't res the scene relative to the box at all, and you don't have the option to do that, which is fine for use if you are using it in a Linden home or a permanent house, for instance. But if you change houses and want to move your room scene into your new house, you'll have to reset the whole scene and not just move the Reza. You can have theoretically an unlimited amount of items in any scene. The creator says they tested it with 150 items with no problems. Both Rezas work pretty much the same at setup. Firstly, you position your bits and pieces where you want them. Secondly, you res out the base Reza. Thirdly, you drop the script into the contents of all the items in your scene. Step number 4 is a bit different for the two systems. For the Restrained Freedom Reza, you shift-click all your items in the scene. For convenience, change the name of the last piece you pick up to something that will tell you what the scene is. For mine, I use TV studio or art studio or cafe. Once you have them all shift-clicked together, take the bundle into your inventory. When you take it back into your inventory, the clump should have copy mod permissions to it. If it shows as not copyable or modifiable, one of your pieces has the wrong permissions, and you're going to have to go through each of your pieces until you find it. If it is a large scene, this can be really frustrating. I did this with the cafe scene I have that has 27 pieces. Turned out that one of the neon lights I had was not modifiable, even though it said it was. This usually means that the scripts or textures may not be modifiable, but the item itself is. You can't use these items. So for this step, for the Optimus Multi-Reza, you need to take each item separately into your inventory, and that's the difference. With the Restrained Freedom Reza, you take the items in a clump to put them into your inventory, and with the Optimus Multi-Reza, you have to take each item separately. For the next step, Once you have the clump or individual items in your inventory, I usually put it into a folder marked with the scene name under another folder called Multi-Reza Scenes 2019, so it's easy to find if you need it again. Then you are going to take that clump or your individual items and copy it into the contents of your res box. Now, I had some issues with the Restrained Freedom Reza. Firstly, I tried a couple of different ways to res the cafe scene, and each time it did not res into the right place. After playing around with the multi-scene reza, I wondered whether it was because the scene itself was so big. Maybe I needed to split it into a couple of scenes in different reses. Both the art studio and the TV studio scenes did not have this problem as consistently as the cafe scene did, but it did run into the same problem. The other thing I didn't love about the Restrained Freedom Reza was that when it resed items out, it did them on top of the box and then moved them into place. The movement into place was often slow and a bit clunky as well, so you would stand there with all the items resed on top of you, and sometimes it failed to move them into place at all and instead just left them resed on top of the box. Compared to the Optimise multi-scene reza system, which quickly resed the items out into the place where they were actually supposed to be, the Restrained Freedom system lost some points for me on this feature. Some other things to remember. Penny Patton makes a great point about draw distance. She points out that when you live on a 64 by 64 parcel, there's no reason to have your draw distance any higher than 88 metres while home. Now, this is good advice for a few reasons. Number one, it saves the work your computer has to do. If you walk around with your draw distance constantly set at the max 1024, your computer is constantly trying to draw in everything up to that distance, even if you are not looking directly at it. That requires a lot of memory and processing power and contributes to a lot of lag issues. Secondly, if you are sitting in a house, you only want to see what is in the actual house anyway, or at best, what is in the house and land. But if you are sitting in a house, your view is going to be blocked by a lot of walls. So what is the point of setting your draw distance up stupidly high? Thirdly, if you are living on Mainland, you don't necessarily want to see all of the visual noise of your neighbours. For me, if I am down on the ground and outside, it's actually quite lovely, so my draw distance is sometimes set a bit higher. But if I am inside my house, my draw distance is at the minimum. When I am up in the sky, I don't always want to see all the skyboxes that look like crates on the outside. That just ruins my immersion. So my draw distance is set quite low, and that way I'm only really surrounded by sky and my own land. Another thing to remember is that the more items you have in your scene, the longer it is going to take to res. That's just how it is. You can help it out and save some land impact as well by linking the bits you can and treating them as one large piece. The Optimise multi-scene reza information points out that if your scene is more than 150 land impact, that you should split it into 2 res boxes, and also to link as many of the static items you have in your scene together so they are treated as one whole item to res out. I did this for the cafe scene. It had a land impact of 225 originally, so I split it into 2 scenes. I put one res box outside to res the shell. The skybox and the static items are all packed into this scene. I linked these together, which cut down the amount of pieces and land impact I had significantly. The second res box is placed just inside the doorway and it reses all the scripted items, so all the furniture and food and things like that. I liked this setup a whole lot better than putting them all into one scene, as it means that I can switch out the furniture at a later date without changing the scene around it if I want to. Next, a pro tip. Make sure you take a copy of your scene before you put your scripts into it. That way, if you want to use a different system or something, you can just res out a clean scene and drop the scripts into the contents and off you go. I totally forgot to do this and spent a large portion of my time going back, resing a copy of the scene out, cleaning the scripts out, etc, etc. I won't lie, it was a pain. I mentioned this before, but I wanted to mention it again because it is so important, and I cannot tell you this enough. Make sure all your pieces are fully copyable and modifiable. You will lose your pieces if they aren't, and then you will be upset. There will be an angry forum post, you'll yell at me in my comments, I'll get upset and yell back at you, and before we know it, Armageddon. No one wants that, so just make sure your bits are fully copyable and modifiable, okay? Lastly, it does take a little bit of patience at learning. If you find yourself getting frustrated, like I did, at one point I'm sure I was losing the will to live, just take a breath, walk away, go hang out with some friends, or go exploring, or head out to a club to dance or listen to the music. Once you have calmed down and are interested in giving it another go, head back and try again. You'll get a hang of it soon enough, and it does become easier as you get used to it. And just like Penny Patton points out in her blog post, you can have almost infinite space in your virtual space if you are a little bit clever about it. Well, that is all for me here today. Have you ever tried out any of these systems? Or do you know of other ones that have worked for you? I like hearing about other people's experiences and learning different ways of doing things, so let me know down in the comments below. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and while you are there, punch the bell as well, which will give you notifications of any new videos I release. And I will catch you all in the next video.